village of Nwendo had always lived under the shadow of an eerie phenomenon. Every month, without fail, the river flowing through the village would turn red. At first, people dismissed it as a strange, unexplained event, but soon it became an omen, a harbinger of doom. The villagers had learned to avoid the river during these days, for with its blood-like hue came death. One person, sometimes two, would vanish from the village, their bodies never to be found. The elders would gather in whispered circles, speaking of a curse, but no one knew the truth. Young Okiemute, a curious boy of no more than 10, had heard the elders' stories, but something about the river troubled him. Why did it always bleed at the same time? What did it mean? One day, after his grandmother's death coincided with the river's bleeding, Okiemute vowed to uncover the hidden truth behind the river's curse. Each time the river bled, the village mourned, but there were no answers, only suspicions. The elders insisted it was a curse, passed down through generations. Some claimed the river was the blood of a forgotten god, angry at the villagers for long-forgotten sins. Others whispered that the blood was the essence of the land itself, corrupted by an ancient wrong. No one could prove anything, yet the pattern of death continued. Okiemute had lived through the strange disappearances, but now it was personal. His grandmother's death had sparked something inside him, a deep desire to know what was behind the river's curse. He began visiting the river alone at night, his small heart filled with determination. He knew there was something more to the river, something the elders weren't telling the villagers, and he was ready to uncover it, no matter the cost. The night was always the most unsettling time by the river. It wasn't just the red water, it was the silence that followed. No animals, no sounds of crickets or wind in the trees. Just stillness. Okiemute spent his nights by the river, waiting. The moon would always be hidden behind clouds when the blood would appear, and each month, it felt like the air grew thicker with dread. The villagers continued their lives as if nothing was amiss, except for the ones who knew the river's deadly secret. One evening, while sitting near the river, Okiemute overheard a conversation between two elders. Their words were laced with fear, and though Okiemute couldn't understand everything, he knew enough. They spoke of a deal made long ago, a bargain that tied the fate of the village to the river's bloodshed. It wasn't a curse, it was a promise, but no one knew the full price of that promise. Okiemute's discovery filled him with both dread and excitement. The elders' whispered words had revealed that the river's bleeding was no random curse. It was a sacrifice, an offering made to keep the peace in the village. Long ago, when the village was in danger of being wiped out by a brutal enemy, the elders had made a pact with an ancient spirit, one that resided within the river. In exchange for the village's safety, the spirit demanded a life every month. No one had remembered the full details of the deal, only that the price had to be paid. But now, as Okiemute pieced together the fragments of the story, he began to see the flaw in the arrangement. If the spirit's hunger was not satisfied, there would be consequences. This wasn't just a tale of sacrifice, it was a dangerous game, and the spirit's hunger was growing stronger with each passing month. Determined to dig deeper, Okiemute decided to visit the river during the next bleed. He had learned from the elders that the river's blood was not only a symbol of the spirit's power but also a physical manifestation of the bargain. When the river turned red, it wasn't just a color change, it was a sign that the spirit was preparing to collect its due. The villagers had been tricked into thinking it was a natural occurrence. As the next month's bleed approached, Okiemute took note of every small detail. He visited the river earlier than usual and searched the banks, feeling a strange pull toward the water. Then, he saw it. Carved into the rocks near the river was a symbol he hadn't noticed before, a symbol that matched the one the elders had described in their stories. It was a mark, a warning. This was no ordinary river. It was a binding force, and Okiemute had just found the first clue to break the curse. As the blood of the river began to flow once more, Okiemute knew the time had come. He stood by the river, watching the crimson liquid swirl around the rocks. It was as if the earth itself was trembling in anticipation. The air grew thick with an ominous energy. The villagers were already preparing for the loss of another life, but Okiemute was determined to stop it. He had uncovered enough to know that the river's bleeding was a ritual that demanded blood to maintain balance. In the distance, he saw the figure of an old woman, a witch known to commune with the spirit of the river. Her name was Ishara, and she had been the village's spiritual guide for as long as anyone could remember. As she approached the water, Okiemute felt his heart race. She was not just another elder, she was the key to understanding the river's wrath. Her eyes met his, and in them, he saw the burden of knowledge that had been kept hidden from the villagers. Ishara did not speak immediately. She only stood by the river, her face etched with years of wisdom and regret. Okiemute's heart pounded as he stepped closer, unsure of how to approach her. Finally, she turned to him, her voice a mere whisper. "You seek to undo the river's curse, don't you?" Okiemute nodded, fear mixing with hope. "I want to know the truth. Why does the river bleed? Why does it take lives?" The old woman sighed, as if she had been waiting for this moment. "The spirit is bound to this land, bound to protect it. But there are always consequences when we make deals with forces beyond our understanding. The price of safety is blood. The price of life is death." Her words hung heavy in the air, and Okiemute felt the weight of history pressing down on him. If he was to stop the bleeding river, he would have to uncover the full truth of the pact, and face the spirit itself. Ishara revealed that the spirit in the river was not just any god. It was an ancient being, a force of nature that had existed long before the village was founded. It had once roamed freely, shaping the land and the river with its power. But when the village settled, the spirit grew restless, demanding that the villagers offer a tribute to appease it. The elders, desperate to protect their people, had struck the fateful bargain. "The spirit's name is Ishara," Ishara said. "It was once a god of the earth and water, but now it is bound to the river. It is neither good nor evil. It only seeks balance." Okiemute understood now. Ishara wasn't a vengeful spirit, it was a force of nature, one that required its sacrifice to maintain equilibrium. But that didn't mean Okiemute would simply accept the deaths. There had to be another way. Determined to break the cycle of death, Okiemute set off to find the secret place where the pact had been sealed. Ishara had told him that there was a hidden chamber beneath the riverbank, a place where the elders had once gone to make their deal with Ishara. If Okiemute could find this chamber, he might be able to break the pact. 4 days, Okiemute searched the riverbanks, diving into the waters to uncover the hidden entrance. It was during one of these dives that he finally found it, an ancient stone door, half submerged beneath the river's current. The markings on the door were identical to the symbol he had found earlier. This was it. The key to breaking the curse. Okiemute entered the chamber, his heart racing as he stepped into the cold darkness. Inside, the walls were lined with ancient carvings that told the story of the pact. He could see the figures of the first elders, kneeling before Ishara, offering their promise of monthly sacrifice. The carvings depicted the spirit as a terrifying, massive creature, its eyes glowing with an unsettling light. As Okiemute examined the carvings, he felt a presence, a cold, heavy energy. The spirit was watching him. "Why do you disturb my peace, child?" A voice boomed, shaking the very ground beneath him. Okiemute stood tall, his voice unwavering. "I'm here to end the bloodshed. The village doesn't know the price you demand. I want to free them." Ishara's voice echoed in the chamber, its tone both harsh and weary. "You cannot undo the past. The bargain was struck, and it must be kept. To break the pact is to unravel the fabric of this land. What would you have me do instead?" Okiemute, despite the fear building in his chest, stepped forward. "I will offer my life instead. Let me be the sacrifice. I will give myself willingly, and you will no longer need to take from my people." There was a long silence before the river began to stir. Ishara's presence was felt in every ripple, in every breath of wind. "You would trade your life for theirs?" the spirit asked, its voice softer now. Okiemute nodded. "Yes, I would." Ishara's gaze, though unseen, burned into Okiemute. The air was thick with tension, as if the very earth itself held its breath. The spirit's voice was quiet but filled with a profound sadness. "You are brave, child, but your life alone cannot balance the scales of this world. It is not your blood I seek. It is the truth that I demand." The river's blood began to slow, its red hue fading as the truth settled in the air. Ishara revealed that the bargain was not just about blood, it was about knowledge. The village had long forgotten the true cost of their safety. The blood was not the only payment. The land demanded understanding, the acceptance of balance. The revelation was earth-shattering. Okiemute had unknowingly uncovered the truth that had eluded the villagers for generations. The pact with Ishara wasn't merely about taking lives. It was about the village forgetting their responsibility to the land, to the river. The elders had failed to pass on the true meaning of the bargain, allowing greed and fear to cloud their judgment. Now that the truth was known, Okiemute had one last task: to ensure that the villagers understood the cost of their safety. They needed to respect the land, the river, and Ishara's power. Only then could the cycle of bloodshed be broken. Okiemute returned to the village, a weight lifted from his shoulders. He stood before the elders and the villagers, sharing the truth about the river and the spirit. The elders listened in silence, their faces filled with regret. They had allowed fear to dictate their actions, but now they saw the error of their ways. Together, the village made a new pact with Ishara, not one of blood, but of respect and understanding. The river, once a harbinger of death, began to flow clear once more. No longer did it bleed. It became a symbol of the village's renewed bond with the land and the spirit that protected them. Chapter 15. A New Dawn. With the river no longer bleeding, life in the village returned to normal. The death that had haunted them for so long was finally over. Okiemute, now a young man, stood by the river one last time, watching its clear waters flow. He had uncovered the truth and saved his people. The village was forever changed, its future now shaped by the respect they gave to the land. As Okiemute looked toward the horizon, he knew that the river's blood would never flow again. The land had been healed, and so had the village. They had learned that true power came not from taking, but from giving back. The end. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe for more stories.